Welcome back. Find a comfortable position and let your body get heavy. Take a slow breath in and let it out. There's nothing you need to do right now. Know where you need to be. Tonight I have 5 stories for you. Let them wash over you. You don't need to follow along closely. Just let the words carry you. Let's begin. The sun had set long ago, and the gentle glow of the streetlights began to flicker on, casting a warm yellow hue over the quiet little town of Maplewood. As I turned the key in the lock, the familiar creak of the front door welcomed me back inside my cozy apartment. A faint aroma of lingering cinnamon and nutmeg from yesterday's baking still lingered in the air, wrapping around me like a soft, familiar quilt. I could hear the gentle rumble of the old radiator in the corner, its warmth seeping into the room, inviting me to kick off my shoes and settle in for the evening. In the small kitchen, the soft hum of the refrigerator provided a rhythmic background, punctuated by the occasional clink of a spoon against a ceramic bowl. The window was slightly ajar, bringing in the crisp scent of autumn leaves, and I couldn't help but smile at the thought of those brilliant oranges and reds swirling around the trees outside. I poured myself a cup of chamomile tea, letting the steam curl gently around my face, a calming, herbal embrace that promised peaceful rest. It was a Thursday evening, and I just finished a long week at the local library, where I worked with a charming group of colleagues. We would often gather in the small break room during lunch, sharing stories and laughter over the aroma of brewing coffee and the rustle of snack wrappers. There was Linda, with her wild curls and a laugh that seemed to fill the entire room, always sharing the latest book she'd devoured. And then there was Owen, who, with his quiet demeanor, would listen intently, occasionally offering a wry comment that would send us all into a fit of giggles. I treasured these moments of camaraderie, where the Monday melted away, and we found joy in the simplest of exchanges. But that Thursday had felt different, as if something had shifted ever so slightly in the atmosphere. It began when Linda had accidentally spilled coffee on Owen's meticulously organized stack of papers, which he had been preparing for a big presentation. The way Owen had furrowed his brow for just a second, before softening his expression and reassuring her it was no big deal, lingered with me. Yet I could see how it had put a shadow across Linda's usually bright smile. Still, the hour ticked on, and as we resumed our chatter, the situation faded like wisps of steam from a hot cup. The laughter came back, but beneath its surface, I sensed a quiet awkwardness hanging like a gentle mist. It was an unspoken tension that loomed, retreating only when the clock chimed 5, marking the end of our workday. When I arrived home that evening, the tea warming my hands, I found myself pondering that spilled coffee. As small as it seemed, it had cast a tender ripple amongst our little team, and I wondered if perhaps it was more than just a harmless mishap. Maybe it had nudged Linda's confidence and Owen's sense of order. Those delicate threads of human connection oftentimes weave the most intricate patterns after all. The next morning unfolded with the promise of a soft golden dawn. I brewed my coffee, letting the rich aroma fill my kitchen while I prepared a simple breakfast of toast and fruit. I took my time, savoring each bite, and as I stepped outside, the crisp air embraced me, awakening my senses. I walked toward the library, noticing how the leaves crunched pleasantly underfoot, a gentle reminder of autumn's embrace. As I entered the library, the warmth of the building wrapped around me like an old, cherished hug. Owen was already sitting at the circulation desk, his glasses perched on the edge of his nose, flipping through one of the latest novels. "Good morning," I said softly, noting the hint of a smile that flickered across his face as he glanced up. "Morning," he replied, adjusting his glasses with a slight grin. "Did you survive breakfast?" "Just barely," I chuckled. "I think I might have burnt the toast a little." He laughed lightly, the sound echoing gently in the quiet space. I sensed a slight ease in his demeanor, as if the night had eased a concern that had nagged at him. Linda arrived moments later, her hair pulled back in a messy bun and her cheeks flushed from the brisk morning air. "Good morning," she chimed, her voice bright and cheerful. There was a hint of nervousness there, a fluttering beneath her words that softened as she caught my eye. I offered a reassuring smile, hoping to encourage her to lean into the warmth of our little team. We spent the morning shelving books, lost in the comfort of familiarity, the shelves creaking slightly as we reached for volumes that had rested in quiet corners for too long. The library held a certain scent, the mingling of old pages, polished wood, and a dash of fresh coffee from the break room, creating a sanctuary where our worries seemed to dissipate. Conversations flowed easily, each word hanging in the air with a gentle levity. When lunchtime rolled around, we gathered again in the break room, the smell of leftover soup wafting in from the small kitchen area. Linda stirred her soup, a contemplative look crossing her face as she glanced at Owen, who was flipping through a magazine. A silence fell between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was tender, as if both were considering how to bridge that little gap. I decided to step in softly. "You know, I've been thinking about how good the library looks with all the fall decorations this year." I gestured toward the window, where handmade paper pumpkins hung, swaying lightly as they caught the sun. "I'm really proud of us." Linda's eyes sparkled slightly at the mention of decorations, and she nodded in agreement, her smile returning. "It was a group effort, really." She paused, looking at Owen. "You put up the really great ones by the entrance, didn't you?" Owen glanced up, a spark of pride lighting his eyes. "Yeah, I thought they might add a nice touch. It's nice to have the community see some of those handmade pieces." "No. I noticed how the air shifted, the unpainted walls of discomfort lifting just a bit. Linda took a breath, her expression softening, and she leaned slightly closer. "You have a knack for design, Owen. It kind of makes me think. Maybe we should collaborate on something together sometime?" "No." There was a beat of silence, and I could sense a bright glimmer of hope in the air, mingled with the savory smell of soup. Owen blinked, surprise washing over him as he processed her words. "That sounds great, actually. I'd like that. We could. Maybe." He hesitated, but there was no awkwardness now, only a gentle warmth enveloping us all. As we continued to talk, discussing potential ideas for a winter display and exchanging playful banter, the whole room felt infused with a sense of ease. The small misunderstandings of yesterday began to fold into laughter, our camaraderie blossoming gently. In that moment, all seemed to settle into a soft equilibrium, as if everything had fallen into its rightful place. Days glided by in a similar rhythm, our little team settling into a comfortable flow of work and friendship, where each day seemed to build on the warmth of the last. As the leaves turned and fell, and the nights grew longer, we found ourselves sharing more than just work stories. We exchanged recipes, favorite book recommendations, and even the occasional silly photo. The library, once a quiet refuge where we dutifully tended to our tasks, became a space of connection and collaboration. I cherished these moments, the way laughter echoed off the shelves, the way our conversations took on a life of their own, weaving us closer together. Eventually, winter arrived, wrapping Maplewood in a cloak of soft snow. I found myself back in my kitchen one night, the scent of fresh-baked cookies filling the air. I knew I wanted to share them with my colleagues, a small gesture wrapped in sweetness. I ladled the warm cookies into a tin, the soft chocolate chips melting slightly at the edges, and I made my way over to the library. There, in the glow of the lamps, I found Owen and Linda working together, deep in discussion over a collection of holiday-themed books they were arranging on a new display. Their laughter rang through the library, smooth and comforting like a favorite song, and I felt a warmth blooming in my chest as I approached. "Please," I announced softly, opening the tin with a flourish. I figured everyone could use a little sugar. Their faces lit up like the tiny lights strung across the library windows. Owen reached for one, taking a generous bite. "These are incredible," he exclaimed, a hint of cookie crumbs dusting his smile. Linda laughed, and as her eyes danced in the soft light, I could see the worry that had once settled between them was nowhere to be found. As we shared cookies and stories that evening, the library felt like a sanctuary of kindness. Every bite we took, every laugh we shared seemed to warm our hearts just a little bit more. I sensed that the roots of our friendship had deepened, nourished by simple moments that felt both sacred and ordinary. When it was time for me to head home, the library's warmth lingered in my mind. I stepped outside into the crisp night air, the stars shining gently above, and the snow crunching softly beneath my feet. I realized in those quiet moments that the world somehow felt a little more manageable, a little more connected. As I settled into bed that night, the soft glow from the street lamp outside flickering against my window, I could feel a deep sense of peace washing over me. The stresses of the day drifted away, fading like the colors of twilight. I breathed in the scent of cinnamon from the kitchen, snuggling under the blanket, and with each slow blink, I felt myself melt into a gentle comfort. The world outside, wrapped in a blanket of snow, held its breath, waiting for the dawn. In the soft embrace of my cozy bed, I closed my eyes, surrendering to the stillness, knowing that tomorrow would bring more laughter, more cookies, and more moments to cherish, all wrapped in the warmth of friendship. Close your eyes and settle in for this one. The morning light slipped gently through the lace curtains, casting delicate patterns on the wooden table in my kitchen. I stood there, wrapped in a soft sweater, feeling the warmth of the sun on my back as I brewed a pot of chamomile tea. The kettle whistled softly, a familiar sound that mingled with the gentle chirping of birds outside, their song filling the air with a sense of tranquil harmony. I could smell the crisp autumn air drifting in through the window, mingling with the faint sweetness of honey as I stirred it into my steaming cup. Outside, the leaves were beginning to turn, painting the world in hues of gold and crimson. I watched as they danced lazily on the wind, twirling down to create a vibrant carpet beneath the old oak tree that stood proudly in my front yard. It was a quiet morning, one of those rare moments where time seemed to stretch, inviting me to savor every sip, every sound, every breath. A few moments later, I wandered out onto the porch, cradling my mug between my hands, feeling its warmth seep into my fingers. The sun was just beginning to reach the tops of the neighboring houses, casting a soft golden glow on the street that welcomed the day ahead. I loved this time of year, the way the air had a bit of a chill but still felt inviting, like a friendly hug from an old friend. As I settled into my favorite wicker chair, I noticed Mrs. Jensen from 2 doors down tending to her garden, her hands nestled in the rich soil. She was always there in the mornings, nurturing her flowers as if they were cherished companions. I fancied she could tell the exact moment the sun would reach the blooms, coaxing them awake with its warm rays. She glanced up and smiled, her eyes twinkling like the morning dew that clung to the petals. "Good morning," she called out, her voice a comforting melody. "I think the marigolds are going to be especially vibrant this year. What do you think, Malwyn?" I smiled back, taking a moment to appreciate the way the sun illuminated her silver hair. "They look lovely, as always. You have a magic touch, Mrs. Jensen." "Aye." With a gentle laugh, she returned to her work, and I turned back to my tea, watching the houses around me begin to awaken. Mr. Thompson next door was already out on his front steps, attempting to coax the newspaper from the grasp of his ever-enthusiastic Labrador, Max Dutton. The dog was lunging playfully, his tail a blur of joy as he bounced about, oblivious to Mr. Thompson's gentle chiding. "Max, come on now. That's not for you." He chuckled, his mild frustration melting away into laughter as the dog pranced in circles. I couldn't help but smile too. Such was life in our little community, filled with gentle humor, the warmth of shared moments, and a multitude of tiny stories unfolding every day. As the sun climbed higher, I noticed a few more neighbors filtering onto their porches, sharing brief waves and greetings. There was an unspoken connection amongst us all, a gentle rhythm of camaraderie that made this little corner of the world feel like home. Later that week, as the leaves continued to fall and the days grew shorter, a slight chill began to settle in the air. It was then that I realized the annual neighborhood potluck was fast approaching. A subtle buzz of excitement surrounded it, as invitations were left in mailboxes and whispered about in passing conversations. It had become a cherished tradition of ours, a gathering where dishes shared and laughter echoed filled the crisp nighttime air. I found myself wandering through my small kitchen, contemplating what to bring. My mind drifted to Grandma's old recipe for apple pie, the one that evoked memories of family gatherings long gone. The aroma of cinnamon and baked apples mingled with the warmth of the kitchen and the sound of the rolling pin dancing across the countertop. On the evening of the potluck, the air was thick with anticipation as I stepped outside, my pie carefully wrapped in a cozy blanket. The soft glow of string lights illuminated the gathering, casting a warm, welcoming glow over the lawn, where a few folding tables were set up, already burdened with a delightful assortment of dishes and desserts. I made my way over to join the others, taking in the scene before me. Children chased one another, their laughter ringing like music in the evening air. The sound of clinking glasses and soft conversation filled the space, mingling with the scent of savory dishes. I let the gentle warmth of familiarity wrap around me like a soft embrace, watching as neighbors shared stories and gathered around to savor each other's creations. As the sun began its descent, the sky turned a brilliant palette of oranges and pinks, and I felt grateful for the comfort of it all, the mingling of voices, the shared smiles, the bonds that wove us together like a tapestry. We all settled onto blankets scattered across the grass, cheeks warm and full from the feasting, as the evening deepened. In the gentle glow of dusk, I shared my pie, and Mrs. Jensen proudly presented her famous chili, while others offered their own delicious contributions. There was a sense of belonging that enveloped us, a reassurance that in this little cul-de-sac we could come together, celebrate the simple, mundane joys, and share laughter over silly tales. And somewhere in the warmth of those moments, when the stars began to dot the sky, I glanced around and saw Mr. Thompson with Max curled up contentedly at his feet, pointing out constellations to a rapt audience of children. There was something so wonderfully comforting about the soft hum of conversation around us, the gentle laughter, and the crackling sound of the small fire someone had lit nearby. Time seemed slow that night, as if the world had paused to let us linger in these moments. I found myself lost in the beauty of it all, the way our lives intertwined, the way love and kindness spilled over like the last drops of tea in my cup. Eventually, as the evening drew to a close, I looked around at my neighbors, illuminated by the twinkling lights above us, and felt a swell of gratitude rise within me. There was no rush to leave, no hurry to disperse, and slowly we gathered our belongings, exchanging soft goodnights and promises of seeing each other soon. As I made my way home, the air was crisp and refreshing against my skin, the moon hanging high like a guardian watching over us. I felt joy radiating from my heart, a gentle reminder that in the tapestry of life, it is these simple gatherings, these shared moments, that bind us together. I placed my pie dish in the sink, savoring the quiet that settled around me. Wrapped up in the warmth of my own home, I settled into my favorite chair with a soft blanket pulled snugly around my shoulders. It was in the stillness of that moment, amidst the quiet echoes of laughter and shared stories, that I felt a deep sense of peace. I closed my eyes, letting the warmth of community envelop me, and found myself drifting into a gentle slumber, cradled by the comforting thought that we were all connected, that kindness rippled through our lives like the softest beat of a heart. Die. And there in the embrace of night, I rested, wrapped in the subtle beauty of simplicity, grateful for the moments yet to come and for the warmth of friendship that would continue to weave our stories together under the vast, twinkling sky. Here's another story to drift off to. I found myself nestled in the soft, worn embrace of my favorite armchair, the one that had cradled me through countless rainy afternoons, a steaming cup of chamomile tea in my hands. Outside, the world was enveloped in a gentle gray fog, the kind that blurred the edges of everything, lending a sense of quiet mystery to the day. The persistent drumming of rain against the window created a soothing rhythm, echoing like a lullaby that seemed to reach deep into my bones, urging me to unwind just a little more. There was a familiar, comforting smell in the air, a mix of damp earth mingling with the faintest hint of cinnamon from the last batch of cookies I had baked, now cool and waiting on the kitchen counter. As I settled deeper into the chair, the cushions hugging my sides, I took a sip of the warm tea. The liquid glided down my throat, wrapping me in warmth and contentment, as my gaze drifted to the window where drops of rain chased each other down the glass. I could almost hear their soft laughter as they fell, like children playing on a playground after a gentle rain. It was one of those rare afternoons where the world seemed to slow down, where time had blurred its edges, leaving only the present moment to delight in. In this peaceful space, I rested my thoughts on a letter I had been meaning to write, one to my younger self. I imagined myself sitting across from a younger version of me, perhaps at a small cafe with the smell of coffee and baked goods wafting through the air. I could see her, a little unsure yet full of spark, her hair pulled back in a hasty bun, pencil in one hand, and a notebook filled with dreams yet to be realized resting in front of her. "Dear me," I began, the words spilling softly into the warm air like the rain drifting outside. "I see you there, scribbling down everything you hope to become." I remember that feeling, the weight of expectations pressing on your shoulders, and the thrill of possibility swirling in your chest. You have so many dreams, don't you? Dreams that shimmer like stars, illuminating a night sky of your imagination. No. I paused, allowing the warmth of nostalgia to envelop me. It was easy to remember those days, the moments when joy mingled with uncertainty, like baking a loaf of bread for the first time. Uncertain if it would rise, whether it would be a crusty lump or a beautiful golden creation. There had been excitement in that uncertainty, a sweetness that came as the dough transformed and filled the house with the aroma of home. "I want you to know something important," I continued, my fingers tracing the delicate rim of the teacup. "As you wander through life, you will face moments filled with joy and others that will feel like a heavy fog. It's all part of the journey, as perplexing as it may seem. There will be friendships that ignite bright flames only to flicker and fade, and that's okay. Those moments are not failures, but rather lessons in the art of letting go." Now, I took a breath, the steam from my tea curling upward, mingling with the thoughts swirling around my mind. I imagined sitting with her at that small cafe, the gentle clinking of cups around us, as I watched her brow furrow in concentration, absorbing my words. I wanted her to know that it was okay to let go, just as the trees did every autumn, releasing their leaves to dance in the wind. There was beauty in the release, in the act of shedding what no longer served her. There will be days when your heart feels heavy, and the world seems vast and unwelcoming. You might wonder if you have what it takes to make it through. But I promise you, dear me, you do. You possess a quiet strength that has already carried you through so many nights when sleep felt like a distant dream. No, Yelani. As I spoke, I felt the weight of those words lift, like a soft blanket gently laid over her shoulders. I could see her smile slightly, perhaps recognizing the truth in my reflection. "Remember," I added, "you are not alone. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, who see the light that flickers within you, even when you can't seem to find it. Cherish those bonds. Let them nourish your spirit, and don't be afraid to express love and gratitude." The rain continued its serenade outside, and I could almost hear the gentle rustle of leaves as they surrendered to the autumn breeze. I pictured her, my younger self, feeling the warmth of those words, the comfort wrapped around her heart like a cherished blanket. And there will be moments, I continued, when you will feel the urge to cling tightly to memories, to the people you've loved, and that's natural. But here's a secret. Letting go can be one of the most beautiful acts of love. It allows for new experiences, fresh beginnings, and unexpected joy. 9. My voice softened as I contemplated these thoughts. I could feel the gentle sway of time as I remembered my own journeys of letting go. The bittersweet ache of change, yet always followed by the warmth of new paths unfolding. You will make mistakes along the way, dance with regret, and sometimes find yourself lost. But in those moments, when you feel adrift, take a breath, look at the stars, and remember that even the stars must dim sometimes, only to shine more brightly in the darkness. Now, I gazed out at the rain-drenched world outside, the fog weaving around the trees like a tender embrace. So, dear me, whenever you feel the weight of what was, remember this. It is okay to have fondness for the past, but don't let it anchor you. Let the waves carry you gently forward, towards the life that awaits, full of laughter, soft sunrises, and the endless possibility that lies ahead. No. In that quiet moment, the air thick with unhurried reflection, I let myself linger in the stillness, feeling the warmth of acceptance settle around me. I could imagine the softest of smiles blooming on the face of my younger self, a light of understanding illuminating her eyes, the doubts and worries beginning to fade like the clouds above, making way for golden sunlight to break through. I believe in you, I whispered, allowing my words to drift away like leaves carried on a breeze. I let the moment stretch, breathing in the sweet aroma of chamomile and cinnamon, embracing the softness of the afternoon as the sound of rain continued its gentle lullaby. I sat in that warm embrace for a while longer, allowing the weight of the world to lift, feeling the comfort of knowing that every ending gives birth to a new beginning. And sometimes the most courageous act of love is simply letting go. As the light in the room began to dim, and a cozy stillness settled over everything, I felt gratitude wash over me for the journey I had taken, for the lessons learned, and for the peaceful acceptance of the present moment. My fingers found their way to the soft fabric of the chair as I took one last sip of tea, the warmth filling me up from the inside, soothing every gentle ache of the past. And with that, I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the whispers of the rain and the memories blend together as I sank deeper into that serene space. The world slowed down around me, and I could feel the comforting weight of everything I had let go, settling softly into the corners of my heart, leaving behind only lightness and peace. With that quiet acceptance, I drifted gently into the embrace of sleep, knowing that the journey continued, every bit as beautiful and unpredictable as the gentle dance of rain against the window. Take a deep breath, and let's move on to the next one. The evening air was thick with the scent of wood smoke and cinnamon, curling softly through the open window. I can still picture it clearly, the cracked leather chair tucked into the corner of the living room, basking in the warm orange glow of the fire. Flickering shadows danced on the walls, a carousel of movement that seemed to cradle memories, reminding me of countless evenings spent in that very spot. Outside, the world had surrendered to the quiet of November, the leaves tumbling lazily from trees, painting the ground in vivid shades of rust and gold. As I sat there, a steaming cup of spiced cider nestled between my hands, I could hear the crackle of the fire as it nibbled at the logs, a comforting sound that always enveloped me like a warm blanket. Through the window, the early night sky began to settle in, an expansive canvas dusted with stars, while the faintest hint of winter's chill wrapped itself around the house like an old friend. It was these little moments that felt most precious, the way the flames licked at the wood, the soft hum of quiet outside, and the rich, spicy aroma that sweetened the air. I had just settled into my thoughts when the door creaked open, revealing Martha, my neighbor, and the self-appointed hostess of our little neighborhood. She was wrapped in her favorite red shawl, a bit disheveled, but wearing her usual welcoming smile. She plopped down on the couch opposite me, the cushions giving a soft sigh under her weight. A hint of freshly baked pie lingered on her clothes, and I could see flour dusted across the bridge of her nose, adding to her charm. "Just making sure you're still alive and not hibernating for the winter," she teased, her laughter bubbling up like a brook. It filled the room, wrapping around us both in a comforting embrace. "I might be," I replied, grinning back. "But I can always be lured out with the promise of pie." Martha leaned forward, conspiratorial, her voice turning mischievous. "Well, it's apple, but not just any apple pie. This one has a secret ingredient. None." With a dramatic pause, she lowered her voice as if sharing state secrets. "A little cinnamon, a touch of nutmeg. Wait for it. A pinch of cayenne pepper. Now." I raised an eyebrow, laughter escaping me. "Cayenne? You're trying to give me a heartburn of nostalgia?" "No. I promise it's divine," she insisted, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "You know how we outdid the Johnsons at last year's bake-off. This year, we'll have our revenge." "Noi?" The Johnsons, who knew they could inspire such a rivalry. They were known for their over-the-top desserts, often decorated with far more flair than flavor. Each year, they amassed admiration for their creations, while Martha's simple yet comforting recipes often went unnoticed. For a moment, I felt the weight of the past bake-off settle in the air between us, the laughter and gentle competition winding into the very fabric of our friendship. "You're on," I said, the thrill of friendly competition flooding my veins. "So what's the plan?" Martha leaned back, a satisfied grin spreading across her face. And thus, we embarked on a culinary adventure, both of us willfully ignoring the gentle drift of time. We shared stories of previous bake-offs, mishaps and triumphs mingling into an intricate tapestry of connection. Slowly, over the next few days, our shared laughter echoed through our kitchens, a soft melody that intertwined our lives a little deeper. The day of the bake-off arrived with all the charm of a small-town event. The air was crisp, crackling with excitement as neighbors gathered in the town square, adorned with colorful banners and cheerful decorations. Tables overflowed with treats, each more elaborate than the last. The smell of baked goods wafted through the air, mingling with laughter and the occasional soft clink of glasses. Martha and I, armed with our spicy apple pie, a slice of sweet revenge adorned with a delicate lattice crust, rejected all notions of overly extravagant decoration. Instead, we focused on what truly mattered: warmth and flavor tucked inside each slice. As we set our pie down, I couldn't help but think that our small-town gathering was like a vibrant tapestry woven with shared memories, stitched together with the threads of friendship. The Johnsons appeared, as polished as ever, their table brimming with a shimmering dessert that seemed too perfect to touch. I exchanged a glance with Martha, who gave a tiny, confident nod. We were ready. Just as we stood to declare our pie to the crowd, a tiny spark of mischief ignited within me, reminding me that sometimes a little friendly competition needed a sprinkle of fun. I nudged Martha and whispered, "What if we just let them sample our pie first?" "Nine." The glint in her eyes matched my own. It was the perfect petty revenge, not harming anyone, just a light-hearted twist. We welcomed the Johnsons to our table, our pie gleaming under the sunlight, and offered them a slice of our creation. As they savored the first bites, their smiles faltered just a little, followed by a series of curious expressions. "A bit zesty, mister," Johnson managed, wiping his brow, which seemed to have suddenly acquired a light sheen. Mrs. Johnson, eyes wide, chimed in, "Oh my, it's got a kick," and the soft laughter that erupted from me, and Martha felt like the gentle ringing of bells in the air, elevating the moment into a swirling dance of delight. It was harmless mischief, a simple kaleidoscope of joy weaved into the fabric of our lives and the evening. The cook-off carried on with laughter, but the Johnsons' over-the-top dessert, though visually dazzling, paled in comparison to our beloved spicy apple pie, a testament to the warmth of our friendship over the years. As the sun dipped beyond the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and lavender, I felt a contentment settle within me. Surrounded by friends, laughter still echoing in my ears, I treasured the very essence of shared moments. The warmth in my heart rested in the knowledge that these small acts of kindness, warmth and mischief, were the beautiful threads that stitched our lives together. We savored the night, cozy around the fire once more, pie crumbs still lingering on our lips, sharing stories of our daytime adventures and the tales of our childhood. And as I glanced out the window, I knew that even the smallest memories held the power to deepen connections and foster warmth, just like the fire casting flickering shadows upon the walls of our beloved homes. Now, sitting back in the familiar leather chair, my eyelids began to grow heavy, the soft cadence of the crackling fire lulling me toward rest. I could feel the warmth of gratitude envelop me, the stillness of the night settling gently like a comforting blanket. The flavors of cinnamon, apples, and a hint of spice danced in my mind, blending with the happiness of the evening, inviting me to close my eyes and retreat into a peaceful slumber, lulled by the rhythm of laughter and love that lingered in the air. Here's another story to drift off to. The day had turned crisp and cool, wrapping my small hometown in a soft blanket of gentle autumn colors. I remember slipping into my favorite sweater, a warm, earthy shade, the sleeves just a tad too long, so that when I pulled my hands out to feel the chilly air, the fabric hung just past my wrists, like a comforting hug. The smell of wood smoke lingered in the air, a hint of something sweet and warm cooking in the kitchens nearby. Leaves crunched under my feet as I walked down the familiar streets, their surfaces showing off a vibrant array of reds and golds, painting the landscape in a way that felt almost magical. I made my way to the old family home, a snug cottage nestled between two towering maples, their branches like old friends waving down at me. The porch steps creaked softly under my weight, each sound a little echo of memory. The potted plants, still clinging to life despite the chill, sat proudly at the entrance, their last blooms shivering in the gentle breeze. I took a moment to breathe deeply, letting the scent of baked goods drift tantalizingly from the kitchen. Remind me of my childhood, where every return home felt like stepping back into a story I knew by heart. Inside, the house was filled with warmth and the delightful aromas of my sister's baking. She always had a knack for creating something that made the world feel a little lighter. There was a slight hum of conversation that reached my ears as I crossed the threshold, the low murmur of family members gathering, voices entwining in a way that felt familiar yet slightly distant, like a song I had once known well, but hadn't sung in years. As I wandered into the living room, I was greeted by the sight of Emma, my younger sister, fussing with an assortment of blankets piled near the fireplace. There was something endearing in the way she tucked them into neat piles, her brow furrowed in concentration. I chuckled softly, a warm smile stretching across my face. "Need a hand?" I asked, my voice wrapped in comfort, though there was a tension between us that I could feel lingering like a shy shadow. "Just to make it cozy," she replied without looking up, her tone light but edged with an unspoken hesitance. There was an awkwardness nestled between us, an uncharted territory we had both avoided for far too long. The fireplace crackled invitingly, casting flickering shadows on the walls, remnants of the moments we once shared. I took a seat on the worn-out sofa, its fabric soft against my skin. I could hear the faint sound of family members in the background, laughter interspersed with stories of old, moments that seemed both near and far. It was comforting, yet I felt a hint of longing in my chest, a wish to bridge the distance that had grown between Emma and me over the years. There had been misunderstandings, small grievances that felt monumental at the time, things left unsaid that hung in the air like the smoke from the fire, ill yet intangible. Do you remember those fall evenings when we'd roast marshmallows out here? I ventured, trying to draw her back to a time when things felt simpler, when laughter came easily. Emma's head lifted slightly, her eyes meeting mine, a flicker of recognition lighting up her expression. Yeah, you always burned yours to a crisp, she teased gently, a quick smile flickering across her lips. And somewhere in that playful jab, I felt a small crack in the wall we had built between us. Only because I was perfecting the craft, I replied, chuckling softly. The air lightened just a bit, and I could sense her willingness to reminisce. We exchanged stories quietly, the soft rhythm of our voices blending with the sounds of the family in the background. Each recounting was a small step toward connection, like the gentle turning of a page, a slow unfolding of warmth that seeped into the space between us. A reminder of who we had once been together. Then, as a particularly captivating tale of our childhood unfolded, I noticed Emma's attention drift momentarily to the window, where the last light of dusk painted the sky in stunning shades of lavender and rose. It was a simple moment, but I could almost see the memories swirling around in her mind, igniting a quiet understanding of our shared past. Do you think we can get back to that place? She asked softly, the question hanging in the air like the scent of the newly lit fire, warm and inviting. I hope so, I replied, my heart swelling with an unexpected tenderness. I think we can. It just takes time. Not one me. A comfortable silence enveloped us, as if the world had paused to catch its breath. The room felt slightly smaller, cozier, and I could sense the weight of tensions easing off our shoulders, melting into the warmth around us. After a while, our family began to settle into the evening. Our parents shared stories that bounced around the room, their laughter filling the air like a gentle, comforting melody. Emma and I both leaned back, allowing the conversation to swirl around us, a soft backdrop that naturally drew us closer together. As evening deepened, I sank into the rhythm of the moment, the quiet crackle of the fire providing a soothing soundtrack to the stories. My eyes began to grow heavy, lulled by the warmth and the hushed laughter that cradled the room. All the while, the fire danced playfully, casting soft flickers of light that played across our features, weaving us all into an intricate tapestry of connection. In this cozy cocoon of familiar faces and soft, almost nostalgic tales, I could feel the remnants of earlier tensions gently dissolve. There was a new understanding building, a sense that perhaps all along we had been circling back to one another, eager to reconnect in our own time. Eventually, as the night stretched on and the warmth of the fire settled deep into our bones, I noticed Emma drift closer to me. She curled up in the crook of the sofa, our shoulders touching, a simple gesture that felt like a bridge being formed in the space between us. Thank you for coming, she murmured, her voice barely audible above the soft crackle of the fire, and I could feel the sincerity in her words. Always, I whispered back, a gentle smile settling on my face as I closed my eyes for just a moment. In that instant, it felt as if a weight had lifted, the air lighter and sweeter as the familiar warmth of family enveloped us. And as I sat there, nestled between the flickering light of the fire and the loving embrace of my family, I felt a deep sense of gratitude wash over me, a knowing that the path ahead, although sometimes winding, was paved with kindness and gentle understanding. The room was quieting down now, the laughter fading into soft hums of contentment, and I allowed myself to drift, wrapped in a blanket of warmth and connection. As I let go of the day, the last sounds I heard were of the fire crackling softly, the gentle whispers of love and acceptance flowing around me like a soothing breeze. I took a deep breath, feeling the comforting weight of the moment cradle me gently, and in that cozy cocoon, I closed my eyes, welcoming the peaceful embrace of sleep, allowing myself to dream of laughter, connection, and a home filled with love, warmth. And that's the last story for tonight. You've traveled a long way to get here. through 5 quiet worlds, 5 small lives, 5 gentle resolutions. Your breathing is slower now. Your body is heavy and warm. There's nothing left to think about. Just the quiet. Just the dark. Just rest. Good night.